In today's lesson, we're going to work with percentages again. We're going to find the percent of a quantity. This will give us a little extra work with those double number lines. All right, let's take a look at example 1. 5 of the 25 girls on the Alden Middle School's soccer team are 7th grade students. Find the percentage of 7th graders on the team. So we're going to find the percentage. I'm going to mark that so I know what I'm finding here. Find the percentage of 7th graders. Well, I know 5 of 25, so 5 to 25 is my ratio. Show 2 different ways of solving for the answer. One of the methods must include a diagram or a picture model, so we're going to use our double number line as our diagram. Okay, so let's first make our double number line, and I'm going to put the top line here. And let's make it percentages again because that's just the easy way. I learned last time that I better make my 2 lines first. Alright, so this is going to be 100%. And over here will be 0%. I'm going to label them. These are percentages and these are the girls. 0% is 0 girls. 100% is the whole team. And I know that there are 25 girls on the team, so the whole thing is going to be 25. All right, now I know that the number of girls that we're looking for is 5, because 5 out of the 25 are 7th graders. So I need to know where 5 lines up here. Where on my top is it going to line up? That's what I'm looking for. So I'm going to first work with the bottom, because that's the one I know. Okay. I need to count something down here. I'm going to count by something that's going to have a 5 in it. I can count by ones, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way up to 25. That would be really crowded and really busy. I could count by, if I counted by 2s, I wouldn't get a 5. I could count by 5s and get to 25 and have a 5 in there. So let's do that. This would be 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. We're going to pretend those are equal. So let's label them 5, 10, 15, 20, and 25. We already have. All right, now I look at the top. Now I have to go with the lines that I have. I may not add any more lines. I must use just what's there. 100% is here, so 100 is the whole thing. I'm going to divide it into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 spaces. I'm counting my spaces, not my lines. If I count my lines, I'm going to do it wrong first. If I count my lines, 1, 2, 3, 4, 100 divided by 4 I know is like a quarter, so it's 25. 25, 50, 75, 100, but 100 is here. That doesn't work. To keep it straight, I'm going to count by spaces. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 spaces. So 100 divided by 5 is 20. So I'm going to number by 20s. 20%, 40%, 60%, 80, 100. 20, 40, 60, 80, 100. Now it works out. I'm counting spaces, not lines. That might be an important note you might want to make in the margin on your ISN. Count spaces, not lines. Okay, now the question is asking what percent are 7th graders? Well, I know 5 of them are 7th graders, so my answer is 20%. Once I make my double number line, I just have to match them up and it gives me my answer. That's my favorite part about a double number line. It gives me the answer. How can you not like something that gives you the answer? All right, I need 2 different ways, so let's look at a different way. How about that trusty old equivalent ratios model? Okay, so let's do 5 to 25 was our original ratio. 5 out of 25 girls are 7th graders. All right, now out of the whole, this is the whole team down here, so I'm going to make my whole 100 so I can find percent per 100. Now, this doesn't always work because this number is not always compatible with 100. Sometimes you might have to go down to the unit rate and then get to 100. But because 25 is like a quarter, I know it's compatible with 100. So to get from 25 to 100, I'm going to multiply times 4. To get from 5 to my percentage that I'm looking for, I do the same thing. 5 times 4 is 20. So here again we have 20% are 7th graders. All right, let's look at the next problem. No problem. I'm going to turn my page over here. We'll use the bottom side. How about that? Okay. Cover this up here so it looks like we have a different one. There we go. I'm going to save some paper. Okay. This problem says, of the 25 girls on the Alden Middle School soccer team, 40% also play on a traveling team. How many of the girls in the middle school team also play on a traveling team? So I'm looking for how many girls. Okay, so I'm looking for the number of girls. Let's make a double number line again. And it's going to look just like our last one, hint, hint, but I want to make a new one just for the practice, okay? This is going to look a little bit different. Okay, so I'm going to start with my double number line here, my 2 number lines. I learned my lesson when I tried before to just make one. All right, and let's look at that top one. We're going to make that top one our percentage again. 0%, this will be 100%. I always like to do the beginning and the ending first so I can see what goes in the middle. This is the percent, and these are the girls again. 0% is 0 girls. 100% is the whole team. 25. Okay. Now, if I didn't have the one I did before, and this is just a problem on its own, I need to know how to solve this problem. Okay. I need to find 40%. So on the top up here, looking just at my top number line, I need to get to 40%. I can count by 10%. I can count by 20%. See, could I count by 40s? 40, 80, no, that didn't work. But I could go by 10s or 20s. For the sake of making it different, let's go by 10s. Ooh, let's not, because that would make it hard on the bottom. Okay, let's go by 20s. Sorry, that was I got excited there for a minute. 20, 40, 60, 80, 100. Okay, so 20%. I could count by 10s. I could, absolutely. It would just make it a little much more challenging on the bottom. And we might not know that when we get started. We might find that out later and change our minds. But I'm going to give you that hint now. It's going to be challenging if we do that. Okay, my only requirement is to have 40% on the top because my answer to the problem is going to be right here, right below 40. Because I want to know how many girls is 40%. Okay, now, again, I'm looking just at the one number line. So I'm looking just at the bottom one here. I'm counting spaces, not lines. Remember that. Spaces, not lines. Okay, I have 25, and I'm going to divide it into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 spaces. Not 4 lines, 5 spaces. So 25 divided into 5 spaces is 5. So I'm going to count by 5s. 5, 10, 15, 20. All right. Now, you notice it looks exactly the same as the last one. But if it didn't, if we didn't know what the first problem was, we would still be able to make this based on our information we just did. And now we want to know how many of the girls are 40%, because 40% play. Well, 40% is 10 girls. So 10 girls play on a travel team. All right, and we have to show this 2 ways also? Well, it doesn't say, but let's do it anyhow, shall we? Okay. 40%, we know it's 40%. Well, let's make some fractions. 40% is the same as 40 per 100, 40 out of 100. And I need to see out of 25 is my number of girls. So I'm going to take this back down instead of up. So to go down to 25, so how many girls? I'm looking for my girls here. I'm going to divide by 4. And I know that because it's like quarters and dollars. I love those numbers to work together. All right, so I'm going to do the same thing here. Divide by 4. There we go. I like how those lined up right there for me. So 10 girls. Same answer, 2 different ways of doing it. All right, let's take a look at number 3. Example number 3. This is a different one, and it's going to have a different double number line, just so you're aware and ready. Okay, we have still a soccer team. The Alden Middle School girls soccer team won 80% of its games this season. If the team won 12 games, how many games did it play altogether? Solve the problem using at least 2 different methods. Let's start with, let's do the double number line. I think that's going to be the trickiest one, and I want you to see that it will work and that it might be the way that you want to try to go. Okay, let's take a look. Double number line again. And you don't have to use the double number line, but it's great practice, and I just love how the answer is right there when we're done. Okay, so the top, let's make the top percent again. We're just going to make that our habit. If we have a percent problem and we're using a double number line, we're always going to put it on the top. That way we don't get confused. And then this would be games at the bottom. Not girls this time, because we're talking about the number of games they won. All right, 0% and 100%. 0 games, and this is what we're looking for right here. That's what I'm looking for. And if you want to mark that with a circle like that so you can see it, absolutely. You'll know then when you fill in that spot, that's your answer. Okay, now we're looking, what we know is 80%. So we're going to work with our percent diagram, or our percent number line first. Now I have to find somehow of counting to get to 80. Count by something to get 80. I could do 10s, I could do 2s, but that's going to be incredibly packed and a waste of time. So let's see, I could go by 20s like we've done before. Shall we do that? Let's do that. 20, 40, 60, 80, 100. Okay, label it. I promise it's going to look different. It's starting out the same, but I promise it's going to look different. Don't want to make 3 of the same one. Okay, now we also know that the team has won 12 games. And they won 80%. These 2 numbers represent the same place on our number line because they won 80% and they won 12. They're the same. So that means 12 goes here. We know that. Usually we've known this and then we figure out that. This is a backwards problem from what we've seen. Okay, let's take a look at this bottom number line. I'm going to cover up the top one. Just at this bottom number line. Now, we're going to ignore this part. We're going to pretend that 12 is at the very end. If 12 is at the very end, just like we did before, let's look at this one. Just like we did before, we had 25 and we had to divide it by the number of spaces back to 0. We're going to do the same thing here, but we're going to pretend that 12 is on the back, the very end. So we're going to count spaces back to 0. 1, 2, 3, 4. So 12 divided into those 4 spaces, 12 divided by 4 is 3. So I'm going to count by 3s. I'm going to double check first. 3, 6, 9, 12. It will work. So I'm going to number by 3s. 3, 6, 9, 12. That gives me my answer here. Okay, let's go over that one more time. That's the trickiest part because you're not going from the end. You're pretending that what you know is the end because you have to count by equal intervals as you go. So I pretended that 12 was the end, counted my spaces back to 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. I divided that 12 into 4 spaces and found that it was 3 because 12 divided by 4 is 3. So that was my interval. I'm going to count by 3s. 3, 6, 9, 12. I had to make sure before I write it down, keep counting by 3s to get to my end. That tells me they played a total of 15 games. They won 12. We know that, but they played 15 and that's what it wanted us to find out. How many games did they play? I should have underlined that to begin with. All right, we needed 2 ways. So let's use the method we used on, I think it was our last problem. Yeah. It's a little bit trickier when you know some things. Okay. 80% is 80 per 100. I can simplify that to divide by 10, and I get 10. I get 8 out of 10. I can simplify it again and get 4 out of 5. So I can divide by 2. Okay, so 4 games, 1 out of every 5 games played, right? 1 to played. This is the part to hold. Okay, so let's see. If I want this to be 12 games they won, because they didn't just win 4, they won 12. How do I get from 4 to 12? Let's divide by 3. Do the same thing down here. And I'm going to get 15 total games. This confuses me. I can get to here, and then what do I do with that number? I am confused. Up here, after I get practiced with it, and I practice a lot of getting to here and dividing, this tells me my answer. I know that's the answer. I don't know how I got there. I know, but my brain doesn't understand how it gets there. It just needs to understand the quick process. I think this is the simpler method for finding our answer. This was a, excuse me, this was a lot of information for double number lines. If you have any questions at all, please put them in your ISN. We will work more with these tomorrow in class.